James Banks traces the beginnings of ethnic studies back to the early scholarship of African American scholars during the early part of the 1900s.
Okay.
But I think people generally, when they're talking about the history of ethnic studies as a movement, trace it to about 1968, when in San Francisco, a combination of students, the Third World People's Liberation Movement, students of color, and communities of color began pressing first San Francisco State University, and then was quickly spread to other universities across the state and then around the country, to offer courses that were relevant to communities of color. And the early courses were both content by scholars that was the beginning of ethnic studies, but very much joined with communities co-teaching the courses, because it wasn't just like, we're going to like reteach history totally from an academic point of view, but a lot of the wisdom about history is actually held in the community. And so that would be the beginnings of ethnic studies.
Okay.
But the scholarship, I think that I connect the beginnings also of ethnic studies and also multicultural education with the whole civil rights movement and cultural revival movement that was happening during the 1960s. Because once legally, Brown v. Board of Education struck down legalized segregation of really any institution receiving federal funds, so with the focus on schools. And granted that it took years before schools even began to desegregate, but the what that did was shift the dynamics in terms of the possibility for challenging racism in the United States. And so in communities of color, and initially led by African Americans, but then with other communities of color joining in, questions around identity, questions around knowledge, who holds knowledge, what knowledge is of most worth. It was like there are possibilities for challenging the oppression that people have been experiencing.